Somewhere in Mongolia, beneath ancient forests, beneath mountain rivers, beneath 8 centuries of silence, lies a secret the world has never found. The tomb of Genghis Khan, the most famous unsolved mystery in history. Hundreds of expeditions, 0 answers. To understand why his tomb cannot be found, we must first understand the man himself. And that story begins over 800 years ago. Around 1162, on the banks of the Anan River in Mongolia, a boy was born into a small and struggling Borjigin clan. His name was Temüjin. His father, Yezoge, was a minor clan chief, respected but not powerful. The Mongolian steppe of the 12th century was a brutal world of rival tribes, constant raids, and sudden death. Temüjin grew up learning to ride before he could read, to shoot before he could reason. Survival was not a skill on the steppe. It was a daily negotiation with death. When Temüjin was 9 years old, his father was poisoned by Tatar enemies during a journey home. Yezoge died slowly. And the clan, seeing no value in a widow and her children, simply rode away. His mother, Holan, refused to give up. She fed her children with roots, berries, and river fish. She taught them that blood loyalty was the only thing worth more than life. Years passed in hunger and cold. The family survived on the margins of the steppe, invisible to the world, forgotten by history, for now. Then came the moment that would define Temüjin forever. A conflict over food with his older half-brother Begdir ended not in argument, but in death. Temüjin drew his bow, and he did not miss. His mother wept and raged. But Temüjin had made a calculation that would echo through everything he built afterward. Weakness inside your own camp is more dangerous than any enemy outside it. Alone on the steppe, watching the stars, Temüjin began to understand something few men ever would, that the world belonged not to the strongest, but to the most relentless. He was 12 years old, and already, behind those quiet eyes, an empire was being born.
Temüjin's early life was not a story of rise. It was a story of survival. At 16, he was captured by the rival Takiat clan and forced to wear a wooden slave collar. He escaped. A kind family hid him among wool bales in their tent. In the darkness, he learned something that would become his greatest weapon: how to inspire loyalty in people who owed him nothing. Around this time, Temüjin married Bert, a girl he had been promised to as a child. She was more than a wife. She was his first true ally, his closest counsel, the center of everything he would fight to protect. Temüjin was a gifted political mind. He offered a precious black sable coat to Togrul Khan, the most powerful leader in the region, and asked for his protection. He swore brotherhood with Jamuka, a charismatic warrior his own age. Then catastrophe. A Merkit tribe raid swept through his camp at night. They took Bert. Temüjin lost everything in a single dark hour. And in that loss, he found the clarity to act without hesitation. He called on Togrul and Jamuka. Together, they assembled an army. Temüjin rode into that campaign not just for his wife, but for the first time as a man who could command other men. The Merkit were crushed, Bert was rescued, and word spread across the steppe. There was a young chieftain who rewarded loyalty, punished betrayal, and never abandoned his own. Followers came to him, not because they were ordered to, but because they chose to. Warriors from broken clans, outcasts, men with nothing to lose. Temüjin welcomed them all. But his greatest friendship was becoming his greatest threat. Jamuka was brilliant, proud, and deeply tribal. Where Temüjin saw a new kind of unity, Jamukha saw only the old world of bloodlines and birth. They parted, and in that parting, the steppe chose a side. Half the warriors went with Jamukha. The other half stayed with Temüjin, drawn to a leader who rewarded ability, not ancestry. Temüjin's camp grew. His reputation spread. And the great clans of Mongolia began to watch this upstart chieftain with a mixture of curiosity and fear. He was still young, still unknown beyond the steppe. But Temüjin was no longer running from the world. He was walking toward it.
For the next decade, Temüjin fought war after war. Against the Tatars, the tribe that had poisoned his father. He showed them no mercy. Every man taller than a wagon axle was killed. It was brutal. But on the Mongolian steppe, mercy was a luxury that got you killed. Temüjin understood this better than anyone. To end the cycle of revenge, you had to end the cycle completely. His alliance with Togrul Khan brought victories, but also dangerous proximity to power. Togrul's advisors whispered that Temüjin was growing too strong. The old Khan began to listen. And Jamukha, his old blood brother, now led a coalition against him. The final battle between them was devastating, not just militarily, but personally. Two men who had once shared everything now fought for everything. Temüjin won. Then he turned west and broke the powerful Naiman Confederation. One by one, the great tribes of Mongolia fell, not just by force, but by a new idea, unity under a single law. When Jamukha was finally brought before him in chains, Temüjin offered him his life. Jamukha refused. He asked for a death without bloodshed, the death of a noble. Temüjin granted it. He wept, and then he carried on. In 1206, on the banks of the Anan River, where Temüjin had been born, the Great Kurultai was called. Every tribe, every chief, every clan that had once fought against each other. The shaman raised his arms to the eternal blue sky, Tengri, the supreme Mongolian god. And before the assembled tribes of a unified nation, the man once called Temüjin received a new name, Genghis Khan, universal ruler, Khan of Khans. Mongolia, a land that had never been united in all of recorded history, was unified in a single lifetime by a man who had started with nothing but a bow and an unbreakable will. But Genghis Khan was not a man who rested on what he had built. Mongolia was unified. That only meant one thing to him: the world was next. He appointed his greatest generals, men of talent, not noble blood. He built his laws. He prepared his people. The engine of conquest was warming up. He climbed the sacred Burkhan Khaldan mountain and prayed to Tengri, not in triumph, but in gratitude and with a question only a conqueror dares to ask: how far can I go? The answer, as the world was about to discover, would be unlike anything in human history. What Genghis Khan built was not just an army. It was a completely new concept of military organization. He abolished the tribe as a unit of combat and replaced it with a decimal system, units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. Promotion was based on merit, not birth. A herder's son could command 1,000 men. A prince's son could be demoted to a common soldier. This was revolutionary in a world built on bloodlines. The Mongol horse archer was the most lethal mobile warrior the world had ever seen. Light armor, a composite bow that could pierce armor at 200 meters, and the ability to shoot accurately at full gallop, including backwards. He built the Yam, a postal relay system stretching thousands of miles across the empire. Fresh horses at every station. A message could travel from one end of Asia to the other in days. Nothing in the world came close. His greatest tactical invention was psychological warfare. Before any siege, messengers were sent with a single offer: surrender and be spared, resist and face total destruction. The choice was always theirs. The outcome rarely was. When cities resisted, Genghis Khan used captured engineers, Chinese siege engineers, Persian architects, Islamic mathematicians. He had no pride about learning from his enemies. He simply wanted to win. The Mongol feigned retreat became legendary. Appear to flee, let the enemy pursue, draw them away from their formation, then turn and annihilate. Dozens of armies fell for this tactic. It never got old. Mongol logistics were a marvel. Soldiers carried dried meat and mare's milk for weeks. They could travel 60 miles a day. Entire armies could cross frozen rivers in silence. Speed was the weapon. Genghis Khan himself rarely fought on the front line. He commanded from elevation, watching, calculating, adjusting. War to him was not about bravery. It was about efficiency. Defeated enemies were not simply killed. The skilled ones, the engineers, the doctors, the scribes, were absorbed into the Mongol machine. Even conquered soldiers were given a choice: fight with us or die without us. By the time Genghis Khan was ready to look beyond Mongolia, he commanded perhaps the finest military force in human history: disciplined, mobile, adaptable, terrifying, and completely devoted to one man. He had spent 40 years building this. Now it was time to use it. The world had no idea what was coming.
The first great campaign, China. The powerful Jin dynasty, behind their fortified cities and the Great Wall, believed no steppe nomads could threaten them. They were wrong. In 1215, the Mongols sacked Zhengdu, the city we now call Beijing. The Jin emperor fled south. The greatest city in Asia fell to a man who had grown up sleeping under the stars. Then came an act of catastrophic arrogance. Ala ad-Din Muhammad, Shah of the great Khwarezm Empire, a realm stretching from Persia to Central Asia, executed Genghis Khan's trade ambassadors. He shaved the heads of others and sent them back as an insult. Genghis Khan's response was delivered not in words, but in fire. He turned the full weight of his war machine westward. 200,000 riders, across deserts and mountains, toward a civilization that had just made the greatest mistake of its existence. Samarkand, one of the most magnificent cities on earth, with its domes of blue tile and its teeming bazaars, fell in days. Bukhara fell. Merv fell. The great cities of the Islamic world, centuries in the making, were reduced to rubble and silence. In the ruins of Bukhara, Genghis Khan stood in the great mosque and addressed the survivors. He told them, "I am God's punishment for your sins." Whether he believed it or used it as theater, no one will ever know. Historians estimate that the Mongol conquests of Central Asia killed millions. Some cities never recovered. The ancient irrigation systems of Persia, built over thousands of years, were destroyed in weeks. The land became desert. Two of his generals, Subotai and Jebe, were sent on the most audacious scouting mission in history. Ride west into Europe, gather intelligence, and return. They crossed Russia, defeated every army in their path, then came home. By 1220, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, and it was still expanding. Genghis Khan was in his 50s, and he was not done. Cities that surrendered were spared. Merchants were protected. trade resumed within months of conquest. This was the paradox of Genghis Khan. The most destructive force in history was also, in the aftermath, one of the most organized. The Silk Road, the ancient network of trade routes connecting east and west, was reopened and made safe under Mongol protection. For the first time, a merchant could travel from China to Europe without being robbed. Knowledge flowed with the goods. He welcomed scholars, physicians, and philosophers, regardless of their faith. A Taoist monk named Qiu Chuji traveled 6,000 miles to meet him. Genghis Khan listened to him for days, asking about the nature of existence. The man who had destroyed civilizations was also genuinely curious about them. That contradiction, destruction and curiosity, fire and wonder, is at the heart of who Genghis Khan really was. Genghis Khan understood something that most conquerors never grasped. Winning a battle is easy. Governing what you win, that is the real war. So he built systems. The Great Yasa, Genghis Khan's legal code, established written law across the empire for the first time. It outlawed torture of prisoners. It mandated freedom of religion. It made the killing of ambassadors a capital crime. In an era when Europe burned heretics and the Islamic world executed apostates, the Mongol Empire was the most religiously tolerant superpower on earth. Buddhist monks, Christian priests, Islamic imams, and shamanist shamans all lived and worshipped freely under Mongol rule. The Pax Mongolica, the Mongol Peace, was one of the most connected periods in human history. From Korea to Hungary, the same laws applied, the same currency circulated, and the same roads were safe to travel. Captured scholars were not killed. They were put to work. Chinese engineers designed cities. Persian architects built palaces. Arabic physicians treated the wounded. The empire was a living library of human knowledge, gathered at sword point, but kept with genuine care. He built Karakorum, a capital city at the center of the world. People from China, Persia, Europe, and Russia all walked its streets. It was the most diverse city on earth at the time. He prepared his sons, Joki, Chagatai, Agaday, and Tolui, each to govern a portion of what he built. He taught them not just to conquer, but to rule. The lessons did not always stick. What is often forgotten is that behind every great campaign, life in the Mongol homeland went on. Women managed the camps, raised the children, made the decisions. Mongol women had rights that would have shocked medieval Europe. Genghis Khan's private passion was falconry. He hunted eagles across the steppe with the same concentration he brought to battle. In those quiet moments, it is said, he was simply a man. The trade routes he protected would carry more than silk and spice. They carried paper, printing, gunpowder, mathematics, medicine. The Mongol Empire, for all its violence, was history's greatest experiment in globalization. In 1226, at the age of perhaps 60, Genghis Khan launched his final campaign against the Shishu kingdom, a former vassal that had betrayed him. He rode into battle knowing it would be his last. He died in August of 1227. The exact cause remains unknown. A fall from his horse, a battle wound, a chronic illness, perhaps an arrow, or perhaps simply the weight of 60 years of living at the absolute edge of human ambition. He had given a final command: tell no one of my death until the Shishia are destroyed. His generals obeyed. The campaign continued in secret. Only when victory was complete was the world told the great Khan was gone. And here is where the greatest mystery begins. His body was carried back to Mongolia,
and what happened next was carefully designed to be forgotten. The funeral escort killed every person they encountered on the road. When they arrived, horses were ridden over the burial site until the earth was flat. Trees were planted, a river was diverted, no monument, no marker, nothing. For 800 years, explorers and archaeologists have searched. Satellites have scanned the Mongolian mountains. Ground-penetrating radar has been deployed. Researchers have dedicated their lives to the search. The tomb has never been found. And perhaps it never will be. The Mongolian government has designated the sacred Burkhan-Khaldan region as a protected area, out of respect for the man who asked to be forgotten. In Mongolia, that wish is still honored. His empire did not die with him. It divided into 4 great Khanates: the Golden Horde in Russia, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, and the Yuan dynasty in China, each ruled by his blood. For decades, the Mongol Empire remained the largest contiguous land empire in history. And at its center, an empty hill in Mongolia, a secret known only to the earth itself.
How do we judge Genghis Khan? Historians have debated this for centuries, and no consensus has been reached. He killed, by some estimates, 40 million people, 10 to 15% of the entire world's population. Whole civilizations were erased. And yet, his DNA lives on in approximately 0.5% of all men alive today, roughly 16 million people, making him the most reproductively successful individual in recorded history, the most successful survivor the species ever produced. The Silk Road he reopened allowed the Black Death to travel from Asia to Europe, killing another 50 million. But it also carried paper, printing, and gunpowder westward, inventions that would directly trigger the European Renaissance and the scientific revolution. In Mongolia today, Genghis Khan is not a monster. He is the father of the nation, on the currency, on the airport, on the vodka. The man the world fears, Mongolia reveres. The giant steel equestrian statue near Ulaanbaatar stands 40 meters tall, the largest equestrian statue on Earth. Genghis Khan on horseback, facing east toward his birthplace on the Anan River. His impact on global history cannot be measured by any single lens. He ended more lives than almost anyone. He also connected more civilizations than anyone before him. He was at once the great destroyer and the first great globalizer. He rose from nothing. He was enslaved. He was abandoned. He watched his father die. He clawed his way from the edge of existence to the throne of the world, without ever losing his connection to the steppe that made him. History does not offer simple verdicts on men like Genghis Khan. He was not simply evil. He was not simply great. He was something far more uncomfortable. The mirror in which humanity sees both its darkest capacity for destruction and its deepest hunger for connection. And somewhere in Mongolia, beneath ancient forests, beneath mountain rivers, beneath 8 centuries of silence, a man who once held the world in his hands rests in a place no one will ever find, just as he wanted. Temüjin, the abandoned boy from the Anan River, the slave who escaped, the man who became Genghis Khan, the greatest mystery the world has ever left unsolved.